So before we get going hard, we haven't been here in a while. I heard this song on the radio today, and I don't know that there's ever been an answer, but is there a cure for the summertime blues? I thought you would know this answer.
It's funny because I value Alan Jackson's word very highly in this world, but there is some cures for it. When it's 88 and you're out on the lake and you're throwing back some chocolate milks or you're playing golf with your buddies or at the ballpark watching a baseball game, it's the best time of the year outside of not a whole lot of sports going on. So, yeah, I believe there is a cure too.
There's ways to cool off.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'd agree with that.
I can't help it that in that song, Alan didn't have a job and his parents wouldn't let him go out of the house and have any fun. But sometimes you got to work to have fun.
Absolutely. Just because you're in a little bit of a slump don't mean everybody else is.
A lot of people these days need to understand that.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to play, you got to go get paid.
That's right.
So this is our first show back in several weeks. We took a little summer vacation. Harbin and I went on a golf trip, and I think Big Montana's been to the beach. Day-Day's probably been to the beach and/or Disney World. I got to catch up with him, but Gavin's still missing, as far as I know. I don't know where he's at. He's not been to my house. Still under repair. The studio is still under repair out in the lobby area.
Still on milk cartons in Strawberry Plains.
Unbelievable. It's maybe he'll pop up. I don't know, but there's been a lot happen since we've been on our little summer break. And normally this time of year, there's not a lot to talk about, but Tennessee athletics has been so good the past 2 or 3 years that it's almost year round now. And we'll get into all of that here very shortly. So don't fret. We'll get everybody caught up. This is going to be like a catch-up episode. We'll get everybody caught up on what's happened since our last show, which I think was at the end of June. And then we'll come back and kind of preview where we're going as we head into fall camp, getting ready for the season. And 2023 is almost here. I think we're 26, 27 days, something like that. From opening kickoff in Nashville, and then I think 35 days until we kick off at Neyland Stadium against Austin Peay.
It's gonna be here before we know it. What was the countdown to the first tailgate you sent? It's like 33 days now or something.
It's like 30. I think it's 35. I think the other day it was 30. It may be 34 now. I'll have to go back and look at the calendar. It's just a little over a month. We're not too far, so
looking forward to it.
So before we go any further, I want to have an exclusive interview. If you're watching, you already see the person that's on this week's show, and well, if you're listening, you've already heard him too. But we're only joined by Harb this week. Big Montana, too busy, couldn't make it. Day Vol also too busy, couldn't make it. They're winding down their summers, I guess. Who knows? But they hope to join us next week, is what they said. So we'll hopefully have them on next week. But since we've been gone, we went to the Straw Plains Open down in Kateche, Georgia, Lake Hartwell, Georgia area. And you are looking and listening, if you're listening, to the 2023 Straw Plains Open champion, Austin Harbin. He I don't know if you went wire to wire, but you got it done. How does it feel?
Feels good. This was my 5th or 6th year on the trip, and only 1 year before this I really had any real chance of kind of winning it. So it was nice to kind of put together 4 days and bring it home. But more importantly, Team Bell won in a landslide. So it's always nice to get the team victory. Shout out to my Team Bell boys. That was wire to wire. It's complete domination on that side. So me and Bell finished 1 and 2. and Gorman and Draper did their thing.
Bell had a little bit of a breakdown on 18. I don't know. Were you in his group on 18 on Sunday?
Yes, it was me,
Yeah.
him, Grubb, and Catlin.
That's right. He had a little bit of a breakdown there on 18, but a lot of people around, big gallery. There at Spartanburg Country. The Country Club of Spartanburg. Let me get that right. Not Spartanburg Country Club, but Country Club of Spartanburg. And Bell called it, this is his words, not mine, quote, a choke job on 18. He struggled. Tough hole though. Tough little green.
It was. By the way, shout out to your uncle for getting us on there.
Yes.
Donald Ross course. It was a great course. I enjoyed the hell out of it. Greens were perfect. So yeah, shout out Eric for getting us on out there.
Yep.
Yeah, that place was not easy. Thought the back nine was really tough.
Yes.
But
it's got some tough holes on it. It's a tough course. Greens are tough. A lot of undulation but it's a well laid out course. They're doing some work to it right now. I think they're working on some things. And there's apparently I guess it's on the back nine. The road cuts or runs parallel to a couple of the holes, and they're getting ready to widening the road. I'll get it out in a second. So that's going to affect the course just a little bit. So maybe some changes there if we ever play there in the future. But yeah, great course, and shout out to my uncle for getting us on there and getting us hooked up. It was a great way to cap off the 2023 Open. So you're walking up, or well, riding up. You're riding up 18. What's the emotions like? Did you know where you were, I guess, is my first question.
Not exactly. I know it was close. So after about the 11th hole, I had a considerable lead on Bill. Just ballparking it. I was up like 5 or 6 shots. And then I made a couple bogeys. They weren't bad bogeys, just got in the wrong spot. And he made a couple pars. And then dump it in the bunker on the par 3. And me and Bill both did actually. And he got up and down. And I made a double. So I'm like, okay, not great. And then we get to the par 5 and I bogey again and he birdies. And
yeah, he cut me. I birdied 15 and he cut me.
Yeah, tension got a little high going into 17. So 17 was a hilarious hole. And 17 is what actually won it for me. But we got on 17, so dog leg left, par 5, and right in the dog leg, there's 2 bunkers. It's about 260 out there. So all 3 of them boys put one out there in the fairway. And I was like, I'm going to hit a draw over his corner. And for y'all that did not play, directly to the left of the tee box is a swimming pool guarded by some hedges. And it's tree line all the way down dog leg. That's out of bounds. So I tried to lift up on it last second, and it comes out about ankle high, dead left, hits the first tree, and bounces back towards the swimming pool. I may have clipped a 6-year-old. I'm not sure. So at this point, I'm like, I've lost this thing. Like the wheels have completely fallen off. Well, I tee one up about 15 seconds later and just get up there and hit it exactly where I wanted to. Well, I hit the green, put it to about 12 feet. I've got that putt for par. Bell's green side and 2. And he's got about the same length birdie putt. And I've got a downhill slider. I have no clue which way it's moving. Well, long story short, I end up making the putt and Bell pars. So I end up making a par with hitting my first tee shot about 20 yards into a swimming pool. So, and then 18, neither one of us played 18 strikingly well, but I did what I had to do and came out with it. With the gap.
Yeah. I know you hit a pretty bad shot there. I had reports coming in while we were waiting. I was in the first group to go out of the day, so that means I was in the worst group of the day. But we had fun. Me, Tyler Bell, Undy, and Hayes. We had fun. We had a little gallery come in and watch us. My cousin and aunt came in on 15, and it was funny when they showed up. I went birdie, bogey to finish. So even par.
There you go.
Yeah, a little gallery there. But I don't think you had the worst shot of the day. That award goes to that award goes to Brett Stanton on 18, who airmails it and into the clubhouse and ricochets it off the clubhouse and almost hits my aunt. As she's walking in, I think to either go to the restroom, get something to drink, he almost clips her. Like, it was bad. It was pretty rough.
Yeah, I forgot about that. I remember hearing about that on the way home.
Yeah, we saw him hit, and I was like, that ball's got to get down, and it didn't. It just kept flying.
I remember in Brett's words, I believe Eric said that was about 3 feet from hitting one of those windows.
It was. I mean, it hit the I don't know if that's brick or what on the side of that building, but it hit pretty hard. It one hopped it.
I get up there on 18 and I'd hit it in the bunker, and I ended up with a 65-yard bunker shot, which for those that don't play golf, that is the worst shot in golf. And in no world did I think that ball was going to come out clean, and it did. But thankfully, there's a little bit of backstop behind the green, so we didn't end up in too much trouble. I thought I put it in Landry's pocket, but wasn't too bad.
So you are the now reigning champion of the Straw Plains Open. You'll be back next year to defend your title. You played this weekend. You used your Straw Plains Open exemption and played in the Knoxville Amateur.
I did. Had a decent week. Played okay on Friday. Kind of shit the bed the last 4 holes, so score didn't really reflect how I played, and I just did not play good at all on Saturday. But I kind of rallied the troops and tried to put some respect on my name on Sunday today, and played really well today. So
good.
Put a respectable number up, put some respect on my name, and did pretty well today. Shout out to the golfers in that. A lot of good golfers in that. There was a couple ridiculous scores that came in second. I was like, my goodness, I couldn't imagine shooting that and not winning.
And you played with a listener of the show, Blake Shelton.
I did.
Not the Blake Shelton, but Blake Shelton.
I would say the Blake Shelton.
Well, yeah, I guess it depends on how you look at it. It could be the Blake Shelton.
Hey, I'll take 4-way in over the voice any day.
Okay. That. Yes, sir. Sorry, Blake, if you're listening, you are the Blake Shelton. I apologize.
It was funny because I'd never met the fellow before, and we got randomly paired up together on Friday, and he gets talking, and he says his name is Blake. And I said, "You Carter boy by chance?" He said, "Yeah." And then he looked at me, and he didn't ask if I was a Carter boy. The words directly out of his mouth. I don't want to stroke your ego, but he said, "Are you a Nathan Neese guy?" He said, "I believe I've seen you on the pod." I said, "Yep, that's me." So. Shout out to the loyal listener. We played 36 together.
Well, Blake's a Nathan Neese guy. He's a disciple. He played basketball for me when he was growing up, when he was a little tyke.
So he said him, and also fellow listener of the show, Tanner Humphrey.
Yeah, Tanner and George Davis. I think he has listened. Trying to think anybody else might listen. I don't know, but yeah, Blake Shelton, a Team Neese disciple.
Yeah. I had a great time playing with him. After the first day, we just decided to play together on Saturday and had a blast.
There you go.
Yeah, just some Carter boys doing Carter things.
Well, congratulations on the Straw Plains Open Championship. We didn't get to do a preview show. I've had a lot going on at work, and I never could get it together, unfortunately. So we'll try to take care of that next year. We got to do that. That would have been something good on the 3-hour drive down to listen to. So we'll keep that in mind, try to get that done next year. But we've got the champion on here, and he'll be with us for the rest of the year as the reigning champion. I hope you represent it the championship well. Don't do anything.
Absolutely.
Don't do anything to disgrace us.
I'm gonna have to find me a date to the champions dinner this upcoming year. Um, I hear there's a good prospect in Spartanburg. Might have to ask her and see if she would like to join in. So,
Melody's married.
oh, my bad, I forgot.
um, shoot, I forgot what I was going to say. Harbin, you got me. You
My
made me
bad, I
lose my
got you
train of
flustered.
thought.
My bad.
Well, anyway, it was a great trip. It was a fun time as always. Oh, I know what it was. Quote of the weekend was from you, actually. Can't remember which day we played together, but I think I was laying up on a hole or something, and your words to me were you make me sick, or you're a disgrace. Oh no, it
Oh,
was,
that's
I'm
what it
sorry,
was.
you disgust me is your exact
Oh
quote to
yeah,
me.
it was number one at Katichi.
Yes.
For those that are listening, Nathan had about 175 or 180 in.
No, I had 210.
No, that
It
okay.
was 210, I promise you.
We're gonna meet in the middle and say 190.
Okay.
And instead of hitting a 4-iron to the green, he pulls out an 8-iron and lays it up. And we just don't take time out of our busy schedule to go down to the Straw Plains Invitational to lay up. We just don't do that. We don't.
I don't disagree with you, but I didn't.
I don't retract my original statement.
I have a range finder, and it said the slope was to the pin was 210, and there's junk in front, and there's nowhere to miss long. So I decided to lay up because I could have gotten it there easily, but I didn't feel it. I didn't want to balloon. I didn't want to have a big number right out of the gate. So I settled for I laid up and I got a par. Didn't help. It didn't matter in the long run. I think I shot a 90 that day. So that's what happened. So if you don't want to shoot 90, don't have 40 putts in a round, which is what I did. And
Yeah.
Hayes had 39. So in my truck, between the two of us, in one round, we had 79 total putts. Awful.
That ain't good.
Some would say that's not good.
Heard. Yeah.
Um,
Those greens were tough though. I will give y'all that.
Katici's a tough core. We said it. I shot an 85 there on Thursday, and I felt like I had to work my butt off just to get that. I had 3 birdies, 3 scats, but shot 85 and thought I played okay. I just that place is tough, and the wind blows there in different places, and it's you can get in trouble in a hurry at that course.
Absolutely.
If you're just a little off, especially off the tee, you can get in trouble big time there. But I love that course. It's beautiful, well taken care of, some pretty good views. Nice course.
Yeah.
Like playing there.
Yeah.
And number 1 is a beast, by the way. It's a par 5 down the hill, especially when you play from the purple tees. So, and by the way, if you're watching, I have my Trump 2024 hat on, full endorsement for president. But Chad Grubb wore this hat on, I believe it was Friday, because he forgot his hat. So
yes, he did, and then he stole
Griff's.
He stole Griff's, and he thought it was Draper's, so he kept messing with Draper, and Draper never bit because it wasn't his hat.
Yeah, we didn't know whose it was, and then Griff was like, "Where's my hat at?" Like, what's it look like? It's a red, white, and blue PFG hat. Chad's got it on. But and Chad, shout out to him for fighting through the last comment on the Straw Plains Open. Chad had an injury to his calf. So we were standing in the middle of the fairway. Let's see, that was 1, 2, 3. What was that, number 5, I believe? Par 5. We were down the left side. It's a little below a hill in the fairway. So if you get down below this hill, you can't see from the tee box if anybody's down there. So the group behind us obviously couldn't see us and thought we had went on. So Andrew hits his drive and drills Chad Grubb in the calf on the fly. And I didn't know Chad was getting ready to hit, and I saw a ball trickling up, and I saw Grubb moving around, and I thought he had hit the ball, and he had topped it really bad, and it just dribbled like 10 yards down the fairway. And I was like, what was that? And then all of a sudden he's like, God, I just got hit. And it like hit it, it flew and hit him on the fly. And so we drove back up to the middle, and they didn't know we were down there. And so Grubb hit and went down there, and I don't know if he got a birdie or a par. I can't remember, but Grubb was hampered all weekend by a calf injury from Drew.
Thoughts and prayers to Grubb. I don't know if he's made a full recovery yet, but I believe he is on track to make a full recovery. I believe he's been going to Andrews physical therapy. No surgery required, but Mike's getting him straightened out. So
deep muscle bruise, I bet.
Yeah, a contusion, perhaps.
Contusion, yes.
Yes.
All right. Well, we've bored everyone enough with the Straw Plains Open talk and our bad golf talk. So, like I said when we opened the show, a lot has happened in Tennessee athletics since we last recorded. I believe we last recorded in late June. And so lots happened. So we'll kind of go in chronological order here, Harb. I'm going to start with this one, and we'll kind of move through this quickly to keep everybody in tune here. Chase Burns, Tennessee pitcher, starting pitcher, moved to the bullpen middle of the season this past year because he stunk. Let's be honest, he stunk. His numbers were awful. I've actually got him right here. Because I thought we were going to have an emergency pod while we were on our break when this happened. So before he went to the bullpen, this is an SEC play only. I'm not counting non-conference. Before he went to the bullpen in SEC play, 16 and a third innings, 27 hits, 23 earned runs, 8 walks, 30 strikeouts. ERA is 6.30, a whip of 2.17. Not good. So he moves to the bullpen, and I believe it was the Arkansas series. Tennessee got swept in that series, but he threw 5 and a third innings in that series, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 5 Ks. All right. But the real turning point was the Vandy series the next weekend. Tennessee's hosting Vandy, pretty critical series. Tennessee ends up sweeping Vandy, I believe. But the turning point was, I believe, that Friday night game, he came in and got a huge save. But he went 4 innings, 1 hit, no earned runs, no walks, 8 Ks. And it was just on from there. The only series he didn't pitch in to finish the season was the Georgia series. So after his move to the bullpen in SEC play, 29 and 2/3 innings, 20 hits, 6 earned runs, 8 walks, 44 strikeouts. So he had as many walks in 29 and 2/3 innings as he did in 16 and a third leading into this. ERA of 1.84, a whip of 0.96. So like when you say a huge turnaround, this was a huge turnaround. And without this move and without him, I truly believe, and I think a lot of people would agree with this, Tennessee doesn't go where they go at the end of the season without this move and without him pitching the way he does. They don't go to the College World Series. They don't win those games to get there against Southern Mississippi. And so, it was huge for this move. But in his eyes, his handler's eyes, they needed to move somewhere else because they were afraid that this might happen again. If he struggled in the least little bit, he might move to the Tennessee, Tony Vitello, Frank Anderson might move him back to the bullpen. So he enters the transfer portal, ends up committing, and I guess he's officially going to Wake Forest. So what's your thoughts on this?
Bluntly, it's a pussy move. He had a chance to forever be a Tennessee legend, be a part of the resurgence, golden era, whatever you want to call it, of Tennessee baseball. And he let one little speed bump direct him into making a Henry To'oTo'o move. And that's how I view it. He was a fan favorite. Everybody loved him. He's an absolute madman. Um, had a legendary performance against Clemson. Um, like you said, the last third of the season, we don't do anything. We make no noise without him. Hell, we might not make it out of regionals if he don't come in and throw that gem in that extra inning game against Clemson. Um, he's pretty much lined up to be our number 1 or 2 next year. And if he just handles his business, that's what he would be. But instead, he's searching for greener pastures and go for it, I reckon. But I think it's a weak move. I do.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. And he's got a lot of people in his ear, and they wanted him. They felt like he was going to be held back or possibly hampered because this is a big year coming up for him because he's going to get drafted in next spring, next summer. So this is a big year for him. But look at the track record of Tennessee, of pitching at Tennessee since Tony Vitello and Frank Anderson have been here. It's pretty good. And for me, it would be hard to leave that, especially your in-state school. I mean, he's from Middle Tennessee, and that was the rumors going around that he was going to transfer to Vandy, which would have made me absolutely, like, he would have been on my arch enemy list. He's not as much now, but I can't say I'm a Chase Burns fan anymore, to be honest.
I was hearing LSU a lot too.
And TCU was another one.
Yeah, and if he went to TCU, whatever. And I guess the same thing with Wake Forest, but all year Wake Forest was the best team in the country. It's debatable, but numbers wise, they were number one.
They were.
I don't know. It's aggravating. He didn't go in conference, so I can't hold that against him, but I just don't understand why you would jump ship, because even if you do stay in the bullpen, dude's still going to be a first-round draft pick next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and hell, I think his projection's top 10 as of right now. So I understand it's a big year money-wise, but...
And I don't know if he saw Dolander this year kind of... I don't want to say he regressed, but Dolander did not have as good of a year this year as we all thought he would, or, even he probably thought he would. Not that he was bad. He just didn't have as good of a year as he did the year before. But he also had some good moments there. That series against Southern Mississippi, he struggled out of the gate there in, I think it was game 2, and then he dominated. I mean, he absolutely shut them down the last 5-6 innings of the game. Just, they couldn't hit him. And that's the way Burns was quite a bit. I don't know. It stinks, but you know what? Good luck to him, whatever. Tennessee already reloaded pretty much. Now, is some of the guys they brought in Chase Burns level? Maybe not. But Tennessee's had a really good run here on the recruiting trail in baseball. They're still got the number 1 class, the 2020 class of 2024, still number 1. Now they lost quite a bit off of this team from this past season. Maliahuna was drafted. Of course, Burns left. Dolander was drafted. Several guys out of the bullpen were drafted. Joyce didn't even play hardly at all this year. He was drafted. They've lost a lot, but they've also replaced a lot for next year. And it actually came out yesterday that Zane Denton, which I kind of thought would happen, he's coming back. So
that was big time.
Tennessee baseball is going to be just fine next year. They're going to be hopefully in the same position as they were this year and the past 2 years before that. So I think there was a little bit of panic there when Burns left initially, but that has quickly gone away because I literally was probably 24 hours later, Tennessee got some pretty big recruits in. Now, a couple of them, the kid from Wofford that came in, he got drafted, so he went pro, but he was real classy about it. He thanked Tennessee fans for welcoming. You get it. I can't talk. So, it's been a good summer post losing in the College World Series for Tennessee baseball. So looking forward to next year already. There's been a lot of talk. This fall camp will be pretty big to sort out some playing time issues that might crop up. See where people are going to see who's going to play over who, because there's a lot of talent on this roster right now. So it's there's no shortage of talent in Knoxville or the SEC. I'm just looking at the list here. Top 25 team rankings, perfect game. The Vols are followed by LSU at 2, Vandy at 3, Mississippi State 4, Texas A&M 7, Ole Miss 8, Auburn 10, Florida 11, Arkansas 13, Georgia 14, South Carolina 21, Alabama 22, Missouri 23. So by my count, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 of the current 14 SEC teams ranked inside Perfect Games top 25 recruiting rankings for 2024.
You got to count in Texas and Oklahoma too now, because next year.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure Texas is top 10 though.
Trying to see who we're missing. Oh, Kentucky. Kentucky's just outside of the top 25. Too bad. Can you imagine?
I couldn't personally. What about
Can
you?
you imagine not being ranked? We haven't said that a lot the past 15 years in anything.
Yeah, I guess we could imagine. We did for a long time.
We did, and we're trying to forget it.
Yeah.
So Tennessee has also announced, moving on from baseball, Tennessee's also, since we've been gone, has announced updated renovation projects for Neyland Stadium, Lindsey Nelson Stadium. I guess they're adding some stuff in. Cost have increased, obviously, thanks to Bidenomics here over the last little bit. And so they went before the UT board last month, or probably I think back in it was July, asked for an update and an increase in money for these projects. So Lindsey Nelson Stadium is now up to a total project cost of $95.8 million. And Neyland Stadium is up to a total project cost of $337 million. For Lindsey, so let's start with Neyland Stadium. This fall, updates include, I went by the other day and actually looked at these. Removal of South Stadium Hall, which is under the south end zone there. Partially completed Wi-Fi capabilities, which I think Danny White tweeted about today. He was asking, he's doing a Twitter poll, an X poll, to see what we want to name the Wi-Fi at the stadium. But they're working on a complete stadium Wi-Fi system, but probably won't be done this year. It'll be a work in progress, apparently. They're doing brick cladding around passageways into the bowl of the stadium and new restrooms under the Gate 10 ramp. I went by the other day, and we'll be honest, they got a lot of work to do. They're 36 days away from the home opener in Neyland. There's a lot of mess around that stadium. I know it's a month, and they can get a lot of work. As I knock my microphone over, they can get a lot of work done in a month. It's a mess right now. Plus, right outside the stadium, they're building a new nurses building for the nursing college. So a lot of construction going on there around Neyland Stadium. So there'll be some more changes as you walk into Neyland this fall. If you're going and outside of the stadium, you'll notice, especially around the south end zone, some changes. And then at Lindsey Nelson Stadium, which is the big one, I know Neyland Stadium is as well, but there's been a lot of talk for the past few years about renovating, upgrading Lindsey Nelson Stadium, and it's been approved. Like I said, $95.8 million. You can look it up online. It's going to be pretty cool. It's not going to be as big as Alex Box at LSU or some of the others, but I think it's what they've got drawn up, what they've got planned is pretty cool. One thing I want to get your thoughts on, Harbin, in this project is the possibility of an $8 million naming rights sponsorship. Would you want to see $8 million come to Tennessee for somebody to slap their name on Lindsey Nelson Stadium and it no longer be LNS? I don't.
No. Um, no, short answer is no. It would definitely be odd. Um, grand scheme of things, though, I mean, if we're gonna have a nicely renovated stadium and keeps Vitello happy and our baseball program keeps rolling, I don't think I'd be too upset at it. It depends on the name, though. It'd have to be like a cool name. Like it couldn't be. I know this ain't happening, but it couldn't be like Marsha Blackburn Stadium. Like it'd have to be a cool name.
What about Waggles?
I'd be very okay with Waggles.
See, I want it to stay Lindsey Nelson because there's probably a lot of people that go to Lindsey Nelson Stadium and probably don't know who Lindsey Nelson is. And if you don't, I encourage you to look him up. Besides John Ward, he's probably the greatest announcer Tennessee's ever had. Went on to national sportscasting fame. Covered the Mets, Cotton Bowl, Sugar Bowl. I think he announced, Notre Dame games, and he was the founder of the Vol Network. So, he's on. To me, he's one of those Mount Rushmore names at Tennessee, and a lot of people don't know about him. Which is, if you're a Tennessee fan, you should. I think he's up there with Pat Summitt, John Ward, Lindsey Nelson, your Peyton Mannings. We're not going to get into a discussion on the Mount Rushmore deal of Tennessee athletics right now, but I would put him up there as one of the people who helped build this university, the athletics department, into what it is, and the university as a whole. So that's why I'm not in favor of that. But as we've seen with conference realignment over the past week, which we probably won't get into today, we might. It's all about money right now, and that's the name of the game in college athletics, unfortunately. It's all about how much money you got. It's an arms race. We've talked about that on here before. It's an arms race, but I'm excited about the renovations to the stadiums, especially Lindsey Nelson. It needs it big time, and what they've got planned, I think, is pretty cool. Neyland Stadium, south end zone, desperately needs upgrading, and they're working toward that. So hopefully in the next 3 to 5 years, that all that'll be done over there. So looking forward to that. Any thoughts on the stadium renovations before we move on, Harbin?
Not a ton, because I didn't really know a whole lot about it. I knew we were doing stuff, but I didn't really know a whole lot about it before you said it. But it's nice to be putting in some effort outside of just kind of glamour, because I mean, Neyland's awesome. Everybody knows that, but at the same time, there is some stuff that needs to be done because you walk around some crevices of that place and you can tell like that shit's old, So
And that east and kind of southeast corner, east side, southeast, and south, but mainly that southeast side is. I've said it on here before. When I was in school there, and it probably was the same like when my uncle and his friends were in school. It's like stepping back in time, like back into the 40s, the 50s. It's not changed. Nothing has changed about it in almost a century. Getting close to it. I mean, we're probably 80 years, so it's seriously like stepping back in time.
Yeah,
And it's time for an upgrade.
Yeah, I mean it's cool when you see it, but at the same time, like stuff needs to be done, and thankfully we have an AD that is not afraid to throw some money at getting stuff done for the long haul.
Yeah. Before we move on from that, you just said an AD. His 5-year plan was to get Tennessee to the $200 million revenue mark. They did it in 1 year, which is a testament to him. It's also a testament to Tennessee fans for investing in, which we've always said, I think we're a top 5 fan base in this country. I would put us, you got Nebraska, Alabama, and I say Nebraska because those people pack Memorial Stadium in Lincoln every week, and they've been like we were, probably worse. And they're there every week with a sellout. They've had a ton of sellouts. We didn't even do that. Of course, their stadium's smaller, but yeah, I would put us up there. We've invested heavily. Tennessee fans spend a lot of money on Tennessee athletics, not just football, but the whole athletics department. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
All right, moving on, because we record this on Zoom. Again, we use the free feature, and apparently in the last month, Zoom has changed, and after you do one free session, you have to wait 10 minutes before you do another free session. So we got to get this done. I can't wait another 10 minutes, Harbin. We got to keep
going. We also need a revenue stream to come in this
Yes.
fall. That way we can afford to get the paid version.
I'll have some news about that
listening
I'll have some news about that toward the end. I've been working on some stuff.
Okay, dokie.
Been beating on some doors, beating down the bushes. Tennessee basketball, they're currently in Italy on a exhibition tour. I think they've won 3 games so far pretty handily. Tobey Awaka is playing outstanding right now. He played in the FIBA, I think it was U19 tournament or U8, whatever it was, U20, I don't know. He played in the overseas this past late spring, early summer, playing really well. Expect big things out of him. But we talked on I wish Big Montana was here. We talked on a few episodes ago, back after the season was over, about transfers, and one big one that we got was the Harvard transfer, Chris Ledlam. He actually re-entered the transfer portal and is now up there with Slick Rick Pitino at St. John's. So Tennessee lost out on that one, but I think his eyes got opened a little bit when Triple J came back and practice started, and it may not have been as easy for him. So, it is what it is at this point. I don't know. I thought he was a good pickup. I don't know that he was going to be a huge game changer for Tennessee, but he did score a lot at Harvard. But I always had the question in the back of my mind when they come from schools like that, how does their game translate to the SEC? So we'll never know. We'll see how he does at St. John's. And also, Harbin, the Maui Invitational bracket was announced. Tennessee will take on Syracuse out of the gate in Hawaii. And this tournament also features Kansas, Marquette, Purdue, Gonzaga, UCLA, and Chaminade.
Good. Got a good, healthy field for the Maui this year. It's also nice to where year in, year out, now we're in at least a pretty good Thanksgiving tournament.
Yes.
So it's going to be nice to kind of see where we are. And a reminder to y'all, I'm saying this in August, if we lose a game or two in November or December, do not act like the wheels are falling off. We have 25 games left. It'll be okay.
And we're not even going to have our full team in November. Zakai Ziegler, I've seen video of him. He looks pretty good coming off of ACL surgery, but I just don't know that he's going to be ready for game action by November. I could see him maybe in December. It's going to be close.
I think he's going to be ready quicker than you think he's going to, because he got hurt early March. Is that when it was?
Yes.
And anymore, especially for an athlete, ACL surgery is not what it was 10, 15 years ago. Like you're full blown ready to go in 6 months now. Now, I mean, they probably won't let him play against the Tennessee Techs or the Lipscombs or people like that, but I think by the time the Maui rolls around, he'll at least be on like a minutes restriction plan.
Yeah, I think they'll ease him back in, and
for sure.
That's kind of the weak spot on Tennessee. I mean, and not seeing them in this, I've only seen scores and just a few clips here or there, but point guard's going to be in question mark for this team in 2023-24 with Ziegler, and they didn't really get anybody else in. I thought Rick Barnes did a pretty good job recruiting, but they did not get a point guard in. Big Montana, that's why I wish he was here, because I know he would have something smart to say about Rick Barnes and being washed up, not recruiting, whatever it may be. And we've talked at some point, we want to do a debate, a Rick Barnes debate, Negative Nice versus Big Montana. Big Montana says he will destroy me in the debate, but it's all for fun. We might do it for charity.
I'll be the moderator.
I actually want you to be the moderator.
I could do that.
We'll have Day Vol chiming in the background. Maybe even Gavin. But yeah,
hey, let's not get too crazy here.
True. I don't even know where Gavin is. So as my mouse isn't working, So we've got that is a big tournament. Tennessee, I think, is playing at Wisconsin during the season. And also, since we've recorded or since our last episode, I think they picked up NC State in San Antonio for a neutral site game. So that'll be pretty cool. Some other basketball news, kind of sad news. Former Lady Vol great Nikki McCray passed away since we've been on the air last. I think her married name now is Pinson, maybe. I can't remember. But she was in the mid 90s with Pat Summitt, scored 1,572 points, 2-time SEC Player of the Year, 2-time All American. This is a pretty long list, Harbin. 2-time SEC All Tournament selection. She won the ABL MVP in 1997, 3-time WNBA All Star, won 2 Olympic gold medals in 96 and 2000. Inducted into the National High School Hall of Fame, Greater Knoxville Sports Hall of Fame, Women's Basketball Hall of Fame, UT Athletics Hall of Fame, and was named Female Professional Athlete of the Year in 2001 by the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. And her jersey is hanging in Thompson Bowling. So I remember watching her when I was growing up. She was good. Again, I'm not a huge women's basketball fan. I watched the Lady Vols, but she was one of the greats at this university. So she passed away back I think in late June, early July. So I don't know if I'd mentioned that or not. But all right, Harbin, the big news, we're heading into football season. Fall camp just opened up. So this is what everybody wants to talk about. We've recapped everything else. We've recapped baseball, men's and women's basketball, recruiting, stadium updates. But now it's time to get down to business. It's football time. We're less than a month away from kickoff in Nashville against Virginia, who's not good. And we'll talk more about them as we go. So we're not going to do like a preview show here, but I kind of want to kick things off and get our minds rolling into football. So fall camp opened this past Tuesday. And just to recap where we're at with Tennessee football, they're looking to build off an 11-2 season. We saw wins over Florida and Alabama, finally. Won the Orange Bowl over Clemson. But we got some positions to fill, and my battery's running low on my other. I got 2 laptops.
Wow.
Yeah, battery's running low. But anyways, a lot of positions to fill, and 2 biggest in my mind are quarterback and offensive line. We lost Hendon Hooker to the draft at quarterback, and big one on the line, Darnell Wright, drafted first round to the Bears. I felt like offensive line last year was what stirred the pot for this team. I know we had Hendon Hooker, Jalen Hyatt, Cedric Tillman, all those guys. They moved the ball up and down the field. But I think that offensive line is what made this team go last year on offense. They played at an elite level. And I guess my big question going into the 2023 season, going into camp is, can they replicate that play in that unit as a whole? Because that's going to be a big, with a new quarterback, Joe Milton, you don't want to put a ton of pressure on him. Both of our running backs are back. Can they replicate that is my big question.
Yeah, and that's going to be the key. Everybody's wanting to talk about, well, can Milton do this? Can Milton do that? I think the short answer is yes, but the long answer is he going to have the protection that's needed to do those things? And if you watched 1 quarter of Tennessee football last year, it starts on the ground with us, and that opens up the air game. So O-line's going to have to do what they can to open up the run game and protect Milton, give him time to get it out. If they do that, I think we're poised for a very big season once again. But if not, I mean, we could take a little step back, you know? I mean, it starts on the line. Starts with the big boys. I'm glad you brought that up, though, because not a whole lot of people's talking about that. That is probably the most interesting thing to me.
Yeah, and I think, some things where Tennessee's better at in year 3 under Josh Heupel is I think they've finally got some depth where if there's an injury or 2 here or there at certain positions, they can plug some guys in out there, and they're not going to be – there might be a little bit of a fall off, but not like it was 2 years ago where they had no depth after all the departures. And Josh Heupel's recruited pretty well. I mean, he's not recruiting at the Georgia, Alabama level. He's getting close this year, but I think they've done a good job of finally restocking some of that depth. It's still going to be an issue going forward because of the lack of scholarship or the scholarship reductions from which we haven't talked about yet, but which I'm about to get into, but the sanctions or whatever you want to call it from the NCAA, from the Pruitt stuff. But I think Tennessee is poised to have a good year. And, I don't want to we're not going to get into a win-loss, prediction show here, but I think Tennessee's at a spot now in their program with Heupel where they're not going to have that fall off. I don't believe where unless they have a lot of injuries or something bad happens where they're going to drop down to 5 wins this year. I think your floor is probably like 8 wins at this point.
Yeah.
Especially with the schedule they've got, but there's still a lot of question marks. I think more questions this year than there was last year. And I think there were questions last year, especially with depth, that we were probably an injury or two away from having some issues. And there were some key injuries. Cedric Tillman went down last year earlier in the season, but these wide receivers, man, they stepped up. And honestly, you didn't notice Cedric Tillman wasn't out there, to be honest. I mean, I'm sure they missed him, but it didn't affect Tennessee offensively a whole lot, not having him out there. And that was a key. Again, it goes back to the offensive line and the running game.
Well, Tillman going down is what opened up Jalen Hyatt becoming what he became. And then when Tillman came back, you had Cedric Tillman, plus you had the breakout of Hyatt. So, by the way, wide receiving core this upcoming year is going to be just fine.
Oh,
they might be just as good as they were last year. I think the cat from Oregon is going to have a massive year.
Yes, he could be good. I mean, this offense is just set up for guys to be productive at that position.
Mm-hmm.
And it showed. I mean, word's gone around. I mean, Tennessee's recruited at a pretty good level, although we didn't get Amari Jefferson over this past weekend. He committed to Bama, but I mean, Tennessee's recruiting at a high level right now, especially at the wide receiver position. But they're also recruiting at a pretty high level on the offensive line. I mean, they got that kid the other day. I can't remember his name, Shipman or something, Warren something. I can't remember. But they're recruiting at a high level at a lot of positions right now, which is good going forward.
He's also assessing weaknesses. Like he's beefed up the defense too.
Yeah, no doubt. I think
Especially
linebacker is a position or a unit that they've done a really good job recruiting. I'm still kind of up in the air on the defensive backside. I don't know a whole lot about that, but I think defensive linebacker, they've done a pretty good job of filling some gaps and getting some guys in here. But it's going to be interesting. This fall camp's going to be interesting. More so, I think this is the most interesting fall camp we've had in several years here at Tennessee. There was a lot of chatter last year, but coming off a year like we had and all the momentum that we've got, I feel like there's more talk this year than there has been in the last probably 5 or 6, 7 years. Probably going back to the 2016 season under Butch Jones.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you give us the little taste of winning. I mean, we're gonna go wild. I mean, what have we sold? 75,000 season tickets.
Sold out of them.
All you gotta do is win 10 games and look what happens. I mean, it's not rocket science.
We're crazy, man.
We are.
Absolutely crazy. What's your thoughts on the Jeremy Pruitt stuff that came out while we've been gone? I know there was some the NCAA ruled no bowl ban, but I think we've got an $8 million fine that we've got to pay for his actions, his staff's actions. But man, what were those guys doing? What were they? Well, guys and gals, because there were some ladies in there in the support office that got their hands slapped pretty hard.
The incompetence of all that blew me away. Like if you're gonna cheat that hard, don't be dumb. Like, um, Jeremy Pruitt went on record pretty much saying, "I know how to do this. Big things are coming." He pretty much admitted to doing it at Alabama while he was there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and he was pretty much like, "I know what I'm doing." Blah blah blah. But the one that the funniest part of the whole thing was Niedermeyer.
Yeah.
That was the funniest one because he was probably the coach that was the biggest fan favorite. Everybody loved him. Um, but he shared a bank account with his parents.
That is so weird to me.
Yeah, which is odd. First of all, you're coaching at Tennessee and you share a bank account with your parents. Um, but he was pulling cash out to give the players, but his defense was he was pulling cash out so his parents wouldn't see how much he spent in the old city on the weekends. I thought that, and that is a
And
bullshit.
then when they asked him,
That's the funniest answer anybody could have ever given. It's
but when
hilarious.
they asked him, he said it was for his girlfriend.
Oh, so he changed his answer.
He changed his answer. He
Uh,
said that it was for his. I'm trying to find it here. I'm pretty sure it was he and his parents didn't like his girlfriend apparently. And there we could have a 2 hour long conversation about all the text messages and all the stuff that's come out about this. I spent probably my whole lunch break a few weeks ago looking through this, and it was like I blew my mind what they were doing and just how brazen they were, especially during a lot of this happened during COVID when there was no contact allowed, no recruiting allowed. They were doing it anyway. They're like, piss on it. They're like, we got to do it. I'm trying to find I'm pretty sure Brian Niedermeyer. Well, here we'll get back to that. Tennessee additional punishments include, besides the $8 million fine, a loss of 28 scholarships over 5 years, with at least 2 lost each season. Tennessee's already reduced it by 16 the first 2 seasons due to self-imposed sanctions, which means they only have 12 left over the next 3 years. So not too bad. Jeremy Pruitt received a 6-year show cause. The director of recruiting and assistant director of recruiting at the time were hit with a 5-year and 10-year show cause, respectively. Former assistant coach was hit with a 2-year show cause. It doesn't say who that was without digging really deep into it. Let's see. We'll lose 36 official visits over the course of the probation, and at least 4 per season. Tennessee will have to select 10 regular season games during which they cannot host official visits, including 4 SEC games. Unofficial visits will be reduced to 40 weeks over the next 5 years, and the staff will lose 28 total weeks of recruiting communication and in-person evaluation. Tennessee previously self-imposed several penalties to offset this. The NCAA cited exemplary cooperation as to why the university was not hit with further penalties after the, quote, shocking number of violations. And it was shocking to read some of this. But my thought on all of this is I like the punishments that I've always been a big advocate. Punish the people that were responsible for it. And I guess you got to look at it. The university in some shape, form, or fashion is in some way responsible for this because they didn't either know it was going on or turn a blind eye to it. But I honestly think that most of the people in power didn't know, which is either a good thing or a bad thing. It's either a good thing that they weren't involved and didn't know, or it was a bad thing because they weren't doing their job correctly. I tend to think it's somewhere in the middle. And the reason I say that is I don't think Philip Fulmer was a good choice for AD. We all thought at the time that he was. He did not do a very good job. The only thing he did well here was hire Kelly Harper. Other than that, it was kind of a disaster while he was here. And I know he filled in there at the end. And I don't hate Philip Fulmer. There's some, Day Ball comes on here, Gavin especially, they really kind of rip into him. And probably some of that's probably deserved. But I think Philip Fulmer, he won a lot of football games here. He won a lot of national titles. He put this program solidly on the map. I mean, it was already there, but affirmed that it's on the map. but he was just not a good hire as AD. And I think there was a lot of incompetence. And I don't say that in a degrading way. He just didn't know what he was doing. And there was a lot of incompetence involved. And it's really showing in some of these things that came out that Pruitt and his staff did. I don't know if Fulmer just told him do whatever it takes. It's just really odd that nobody knew that this stuff was going on. But Tennessee got rid of everybody that was involved. They parted ways with him. So that's why I don't understand the fine all that much, but I get it from the NCAA standpoint. You got to do something, but I think Tennessee did what they needed to do. Shout out to Plowman, Dondi, Chancellor Plowman. She did what she needed to do. I know Vols Picks disagrees and says we imploded the program. I totally disagree with that. That guy's an idiot. I love arguing with that guy on Twitter, by the way. But I think they did what they needed to do to separate themselves, and it paid off. They took a gamble by doing that, and it worked.
Yeah. All things considered, I thought we got off pretty okay. A lot of people around the country, not Tennessee fans, thought we got off way too easy, but that's just people reading headlines. My personal opinion. But yeah, we've got some things we're gonna have to deal with, but all in all, it's very recoverable. One thing about Fulmer that irritated me though was he pretty much claimed that he had zero idea any of it was going on. That's bullshit. Like, at least just be straight up, especially now that it's all said and done. I guess he's trying to lie his ass off to save his reputation here, but hell, it's at least halfway tainted at this point. So
yeah,
at least be a man and own up to it.
I think the thing about Philip Fulmer that bothered me the most is they let him retire and they paid him. Like, why are we paying him?
Yeah.
Hey, we'll pay you for the last full month here. You're done. I didn't understand that, and maybe I don't know enough about it, but that was the whole thing that bothered me. Is like, why are we paying this guy? Was there something in his contract that we were obligated to pay him? I don't know, but that bothered me.
The way I look at it is it's water under the bridge now. I'm glad it's over. We can finally move on now that we've got our penalties. And we can finally forget about it at this point. We can just go back to making jokes about McDonald's bags every once in a while.
Exactly. Well, we'll talk more about that as we move on. We got several weeks here before the season starts, so we need to get Big Montana and Day Vols comments on that as well. Moving on, in the interest of saving time here, hater and loser of the week. Who you got, Harbin?
I went back and forth. I was hoping you go first.
I can go first. I'm ready.
Okay, you go right ahead.
Let me go first here because I got to go. And there were several internal nominees from me. The U.S. women's national team, total losers. Won't get into them.
Yeah, I thought that's where you were going to go.
No. I got one that's more UT related, and it really bothered me. But, you could do a lot of people. There's a lot of idiots. We've said that. A lot of haters and losers out there. But mine is, and this, I don't know. Obviously, I don't think he listens to this. He has his own show here in Knoxville, but Brian Rice, voice of the Lady Vols. I don't really have a beef with him. I just, I didn't like a tweet he put out about Luke Combs. For those that don't know, I went to a Luke Combs concert a few weeks ago over in Charlotte. Great show. He puts on a heck of a show. Riley Green was there and Lainey Wilson. She did awesome. It was a great show. Lightning delay. We waited it out for like almost 2 hours, and he came out, performed his rear end off, got off stage about 12:30, 1 o'clock. It was awesome. But he tweeted that Luke Combs was, quote, a half-wit for his remake of Tracy Chapman's Fast Car. He says it's a terrible remake.
He didn't even call him by name in the tweet either.
No, he did not.
He just said, this guy.
This guy's a half-wit. So let me show you what a half-wit has done. 5 number 1 songs, 8.9 million albums sold, broke the Nissan Stadium attendance record in April with over 95,000 in attendance in 2 days. At Charlotte, Bank of America Stadium, at that concert, They had back-to-back nights. They said they didn't give a exact number, but roughly 50,000 for each show. So that's near 100,000. The song he's referring to, Brian Rice, that is, Fast Car, has been streamed as of, I think I put this together on Friday this past week, 21.2 million times. So if Luke Combs is a half-wit, I want to be a half-wit. I think Brian Rice might be the half-wit for that comment. I don't know Brian Rice. I don't really listen to his show. I think he does a good job announcing. But Brian Rice is my nominee for Hater and Loser of the Week for his Luke Combs, quote, half-wit comment.
Yeah, that was bad. I remember when he did that. He got grilled for it.
Yeah, he got grilled pretty hard for it, but he didn't back
Yeah.
off of it.
I'll give him credit. He doubled down. My Hater and Loser of the Week is a lot more recent than that. It's Tim Anderson.
Oh, yes, this is a good one.
Shortstop for the Chicago White Sox. For those that don't know, the White Sox were playing Cleveland, the Guardians. And I forgot exactly what the play was. It was something that happened at second base, but Jose Ramirez was base runner. If you haven't seen him, he's a large fella. Well, they get to exchanging words. Well, Tim Anderson drops his glove and literally squares up. He gets full boxing pose. Well, Jose Ramirez takes his stuff off, and they get to throwing punches. And Tim Anderson went for the Hail Mary. Ramirez ducked it, and he came up and he absolutely folded Tim Anderson. Legs went stiff, and he fell straight down. And there was footage of him getting walked off the field after. That boy did not know where the hell he was. So when you start a fight on national TV and then get knocked out, that is worthy of being Hater and Loser of the Week.
So what led into that? Like, I saw the highlights. Like, was there something before that? And that slide didn't even look bad. I don't know what happened.
I don't know. I would assume that something got said after. I would assume by Anderson and Jose Ramirez.
Because you see him, Anderson's tagging him, standing on top of him, and he's looking down, and then Ramirez looks up and says something to him, and then it's on from there.
Ramirez probably said something like, "Man, get off me," or I'm obviously paraphrasing.
Yeah.
And then Tim Anderson probably said something smart ass, and then he said, "Let's go." And then it was like Friday. You just got knocked out. That was bad. That was it's not as iconic as Jose Batista getting clocked.
No.
But give Jose Batista credit. He absolutely ate that. He didn't drop. He didn't do nothing. Tim Anderson got folded. He has a glass jaw. He is my Hater and Loser of the Week.
A good one that I remember, that's a great nominee. A good one that I remember was Cubs White Sox. Michael Barrett clocked AJ Przinsky. Didn't really clock him, but he gave him a pretty good shot. And then there was another one, Kyle Farnsworth for the Cubs. This guy charges him for the Reds, and he just basically does a Luthez press on him out in the middle of the mound. That was a pretty good one. No punches were thrown there, I don't think. But
my two personal favorites was the first one was being A-Rod and Jason Varitek, which led to Pedro throwing down
Don Zimmer.
Don Zimmer, thank you.
Classic.
Yeah, that might be number one ever. But my personal favorite, it's not as iconic as that one, was when Joe Kelly beat the hell out of I think his name is Tyler Austin.
Yes.
That was awesome.
That was a good one.
Tyler Austin threw his bat down and started talking shit, and Joe Kelly dropped his glove and he said, "Come on." He waved to him. He said, "Come on."
But the best one of all time was Robin Ventura charging Nolan Ryan, and Nolan Ryan puts him in a headlock and just proceeds to punch away. Robin learned the hard way, the old country way.
He did learn the old country.
And he got it double. He took a Nolan Ryan fastball off the middle of the back, and then he got in a headlock and got punched repeatedly.
That's a rough day at the office,
That
getting
was
creamed
rough.
and then just getting the hell beat out of you.
Yeah. It was great. I saw that pop up the other day. It was like the anniversary of it. I don't know how many years it's been. I probably watched it like 45 times in a row. It was just awesome. I love those old highlights like that. So that's our haters and losers of the week nominees. We'll post that as soon as we get the episode posted. We'll post that poll after a day or so to let people vote and see who the true hater and loser of the week is. Brian Rice or Tim Anderson. That's our nominees. So was really hoping Big Montana would be here. I thought he might have a good one this week, but we'll get him next week. He'll be back. Don't fret. So some show news. Teased this a little bit earlier about sponsorships and everything. I'm working on a sponsor. We're gonna start out small, Harbin. We could have some koozies coming to tailgates this fall.
Okay.
Section YY8 koozies with the sponsorship. There's some working with a business. Well, I can't throw it out there right now because nothing's official, but I think I've got a gentleman's agreement in place to do this. So we'll keep you all posted on that. Hopefully we'll have them ready to go by first tailgate of the season to hand those out. And we'll see where it goes from there. Maybe it grows into them paying for us to have a Zoom where we don't have to log out and sit for 10 minutes and then come back in. We'll see. We've had to do that twice during this episode. Sad and unfair.
It's definitely sad.
It is pathetic, actually, to be honest.
We also need to get a YY8 flag for Montana's truck for tailgates is what we need to do.
Actually, that came up, and I think I talked about that a few weeks ago. A former intern of mine. I don't know. I think he's coming in. I think he got season tickets this year, so he's coming into some games. He lives out in Middle Tennessee, and he said something about either his aunt or his grandmother or something makes homemade flags, and they may make us a flag. Now, I did look into a flag, like if you get it from like Custom Ink or 4Imprint or something, it was actually kind of expensive. That kind of surprised me. But we do need a flag. I've got the sign. If you're watching on TV, I'm pointing at it. The YY8 sign I'm going to bring for photo ops only. Actually, I don't know if I want to bring it or not. I'm afraid something might happen to it. It might stay here. I don't know. We'll see. But anyways, hopefully we'll have some news in the next few weeks about koozies, maybe some others. Still got a ton of stickers to hand out from last year. I think I've got them right. Yeah, I got that many stickers left. So you'll be seeing those at the games this fall. Also, we'll have JWTDG stickers. I think my uncle hopefully is working on those for everybody to wear. That was a big hit last year. And the theme continues. Just win the damn game.
All it is to it.
Well, I don't know if it's a shout out or not, but Angie Burns, some of you may know her. She's in the skybox with my uncle. Her dad passed away over the past few weeks, and he was up in the box all the time. And great person to talk to up there, Dr. Burns was. He always had something smart to say, or always some kind of a joke. My favorite thing he always did was if I went up there and Big Montana wasn't with me, he'd always look. He knew that Big Montana was always with me. And if Big Montana wasn't up there, he'd say, "Hey, where's that big son bitch at you walk around with?" So this is great. He didn't mean anything by it. He wanted to know where that big son bitch was that I hang around with.
That's awesome.
So every time I saw him or see a picture of him, I think about that. But yeah, he had a little bit of an illness back earlier in the summer and passed away. It was a little unexpectedly. So prayers and thoughts to Angie and her family. Great people, and we'll miss Doc up there, but he was a great time up in that box when him and Miss Betty were up there. They were awesome. I remember helping. We went to the Auburn game in 2018, one of the few games Jeremy Pruitt won of any meeting while he was here. And Dr. Burns and Miss Betty were there, and they were having a little trouble getting down the stadium, the stairs, and he had some vertigo inner ear problems. and I was helping him, and we were getting him about halfway down. He said, "I'm sorry, son." He said, "These people probably think I'm a drunk," because he was wobbling all over the place. It was great, but he got down to the bottom. He was fine, but I had to help him down. It was a little bit of an effort to get him down there, but God, he loved it. He went everywhere to watch the Vols play. So the Vols we'll be doing this season for Doc, that's for sure. So shout out to them. I know Angie will more than likely be at all the games this year, probably hanging around the tailgate. So we'll get to see them here pretty soon. So Harbin, let's close this thing out. We've talked about pretty much everything, kind of recap the summer of Tennessee, what happened with you on the golf trip. We've talked about football, kind of previewing what's going on. What do you got to close us out with?
Before we go, I've got to give a shout out to one of Strawberry Plains' finest.
Oh, yes. I know where you're going with this.
Might be a potential listener, maybe. I don't know. But
if not, he needs to be. We need to get him listening.
If not, we need him to. Cooper Hayes won the TGA or Tennessee State match play last weekend, I believe it was.
Yes.
Cool thing was he was second alternate.
Yeah.
And he got, and I believe he's last man in the field and did the damn thing. So congratulations, Cooper. Hell of a golfer. But you just made Strawberry Plains proud. So,
talk about making the most of a second opportunity. You don't qualify. 2 people drop out, you get in, and then you win the thing. Crazy.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it was well done. I think he's at Lipscomb, right?
Yes.
Or was it? I've kind of lost track of him, but yeah, he pretty good golfer.
Yeah,
little bit.
Yeah, just a little. So shout out to him. Outside of that, I believe that's it for me. Just getting fired up. I watched the Hall of Fame game the other night. I don't know if I want to admit this, but I actually bet on the Hall of Fame game just to get back in the groove of things. I only put $10 on it, but I bet on the Browns and I won. So
hey, even bettors have preseason work to do.
Absolutely. I've got to get in form for when college and NFL regular season rolls around. I'm fired up, man. It's right there. It is right there.
I was down at Calhoun's on the river today, and where I was sitting, I could see the stadium, and I was so distracted. I hardly spoke to the people I was with because I was staring at the stadium. It was wild. I can't believe it's here already. I mean, this year has literally flown by. I know we've had a lot. You know, looking back at this past year with Tennessee basketball, Tennessee baseball. You know, normally when you get into April, May, June, July, there's nothing to really talk about. You're just looking forward to football. But with Tennessee athletics now, basketball seems to be year-round conversation. Baseball seems to be year-round conversation, and definitely football always has and always will be. But it seems like everything, like nothing ever stops anymore around here, which is great. That's what we want. But it seems like things just, one sport ends, we're right into the next one, and there's a little bit of a reprieve here in the summer, but not much. I mean, Tennessee baseball played into the month of June. And so you basically have a month and a half, 2 months off, and then it's right back to the grind.
By the way, this is the last weekend without football until February.
Oh, man.
We've made it.
What a great feeling.
We've made it.
And a couple more shout outs here before we go on my end. These are positive. Chicago Cubs playing fantastic baseball. By my count, as of tonight, they are 15-4 their last 19 games. They've basically drawn within a tie with the Cincinnati Reds for one of the wild card spots in the National League. I believe last I checked, they were 2 games out of the lead of the NL Central behind Milwaukee. They've got some winnable games coming up this week against the Mets, but the thing I want to brag about them on is they took 2 out of 3 from the Atlanta Braves this weekend. And on Friday they lost. I think it was 8-0, 7-1, something like that. And as soon as the game was over, here come the text. Oh, Braves win. That's all I got. Screenshots of the score. I didn't say anything. I was like, hey, it's a series. We got 2 more to go. Well, the Cubs proceed to win the next 2. And so I'm wearing everybody out this afternoon. Screenshots of the score. I got a couple F-bombs in return. Very inappropriate. Kevin Griff. Very inappropriate.
I saw Kevin at the golf course today. Him and
Oh,
Kingston.
really? Yeah, Kingston's playing this year, so he's grinding.
Yeah.
I think he got him some new clubs, but yeah, watch out for the Cubbies. They are hot right now.
They're getting hot, man. Red Sox were hot. We just got swept by Toronto, so that knocked us down a peg. Still, though, somehow, I don't know how, we're only 5 games out of the second wild card spot in the AL. So
that's crazy.
But we also did absolutely nothing at the deadline. I didn't expect us to go and get anything based on what Chaim's been doing last couple of years. But I honestly kind of expected him to sell off like Pavetta and a couple other guys, but we did literally nothing. So I don't know. If we make the playoffs this year, I consider it a huge win just because this team has no real direction. I don't know.
They seem like the Cubs from about 2 or 3 years ago, just kind of floating around, kind of trying to figure out where they want to go, what they want to do.
Yeah, and then you have your 2 cornerstone players, Xander Bogaerts and Rafael Devers. You let Bogaerts walk for absolutely nothing, and then you give Devers a ton of money. I'm glad they paid Devers, but it just didn't. I don't know. Not a whole lot of decision making's making sense up there in Beantown. But I don't know. Maybe we can sneak in, finish ahead of the Yankees. Maybe knock them out of the playoffs. War of attrition. If we don't get in, knock them out. So
yeah, they've not been as good this year as everybody thought. The Yankees.
They stink.
So it's exciting on my end. I mean, it's not like the Cubs have been bad for a decade here. I mean, they won the World Series in 16 and made the playoffs in 17, 18, 19, 20. So they've not been in the playoffs in 21, 22. But even back in 19 and 20, you could see the downward slide coming, and contracts expired or traded. And it's been a rebuilding mode, but farm system's in good shape. I think they've come along a little quicker. I was not expecting this year. There was some flashes in April and May, in April, and they really struggled in May, and they've kind of righted the ship, and they've bounced back in a big way. Big reason is Cody Bellinger.
Yeah, he is
rising from the ashes.
He is playing his ass off right now.
I mean, he is killing it right now. Dansby Swanson's playing really well. Bullpen has been good. Starting pitching for the most part has been pretty good. So they are the young Cubbies playing good ball right now. A final shout out is to this man on my hat, Donald Trump. Another indictment. Another terrible indictment against him. This is 3 now. He's got the hat trick, Harbin, of indictments from the crooked left Biden regime, the Biden crime family. It's sad and very unfair. So Biden,
haters and losers.
Biden, I really probably should have nominated Biden as my hater and loser, but he'll give me plenty of more opportunities to do that.
That's great.
But Trump has my full endorsement, and I stand behind him 100%. They could lock him away forever, and I would never waver. So, anyways, that's why I'm wearing this hat tonight. And for all the rhinos and people bailing on Trump, shame on you after all he did for us. He loves this country. He turned it around. You need to support him. Listen to the words I'm saying. All right, enough politics. This is a sports show, but we do talk about politics as it gets mixed in. But last piece of news for the show is I've been in the process of moving over to a new host, so there could be some hiccups posting this. So I'm going to take my time. This is Sunday night. We're recording this, so I'm going to edit this thing and then work we're trying to figure out how to get this thing uploaded to the new site. I've been going back and listening to some of the old episodes. I originally tweeted that they probably wouldn't be available. It seems they still are. Going back to our time with Podbean, I left them. Nothing against them, but found a better deal. So we've moved over to Anchor.fm, which is now Spotify for podcasters. And so we were already on Spotify, but working on making sure we get it out distributed to where everybody can listen to it. So we'll definitely still be on our YouTube channel. So if there are some hiccups audio wise, it'll still be video that you can watch, but we're working through that. Hopefully that'll be pretty seamless here this first episode, and we can get that out. So if you don't hear this right away on Monday, just bear with us, and we'll get it out as soon as we can. But hopefully this will be better moving forward for both us and you all. And hope you guys still listen to us. I did some numbers, Harbin. Let me pull them up here. I always complain we don't have anybody listen. I should have had these pulled up earlier, but it kind of surprised me, our audience. So I went back over our summer break and ran some numbers. So what do you think our on average audio downloads are per episode? Just a guess.
43.
No, you're a little low.
Okay.
72.5.
Wow.
The average. I was shocked.
Wow. Okay. Nice.
Yeah. And this isn't all time. This is since probably June. I'm sorry. This is since last, I guess it was the episode after the LSU game last year is when I really started keeping track of it. So average on YouTube, there's a couple missing here. One episode I just recently found out didn't get uploaded right after the Sweet 16 win. Or sorry, right after us getting to the Sweet 16. And there was the episode after LSU did not get uploaded. So taking those two out, we have an average of about 30 views per week on YouTube. So on average per week, we have about 102 views / listens per week, which kind of surprised me. So shout out to everybody who listens to this show. And we really do appreciate it. We're not making any money off of this. We're just doing it because we like to talk Vols and like to talk sports, and we like to BS with each other. So, Gavin and I started this back in 2020, right before the season started. And so this is our 4th season, 3 years in, but 4th season starting up with this episode. So it's hard to believe I've been recording this for that long. You jumped in last year. Big Montana jumped in, and Day Vol over the past couple years. I'm sure Gavin will hop in here from time to time here this fall. He really gets fired up about football and basketball too, but I think he'll be back here, make some guest appearances at some point. But audience is slowly growing hard.
We're gonna pump those numbers up.
Yeah.
Wall Street style when it's football season.
I ought to take some of these stickers down to campus and just roam around and put them on light poles and stuff.
Yes.
Maybe on the troughs in the men's bathroom, put them about eye level. So when people, because you're not supposed to move your eyeballs when you're in the troughs in the bathroom.
Right.
And you just look straight forward and they'll see Section YY8 podcast and they're like, wonder what that is.
Colbain's bathroom.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great spot.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We'll have to get in there and put some in, but yeah, hopefully the koozies will help. And I'm expecting a pretty big year as far as tailgating goes, even though the home games aren't as big as they were last year. I expect a lot of people to come by tailgates this year, and we'll have more info on that. We're working on some stuff for tailgates. It could look a little bit different this year from past years. Not sure if Moses is coming back or not, who set up the music and all that other stuff. But don't worry, Big Montana and I are hard at work trying to make this thing good for us. So you don't need a lot to have a successful tailgate. You just need some good people, some cold drinks, maybe a little bit of shade here or there, maybe a toilet close by. That helps.
Yeah, that definitely doesn't hurt.
But I ran these numbers. It was about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it kind of surprised me because I always sometimes I look at it and I'm like, God, we only had like 30 people listen, but I got to remember, people don't listen like as soon as you put it out. Sometimes maybe people catch up. So appreciate everybody listening and watching on YouTube. We have 999 downloads or views on YouTube. So whoever watches this episode first will be the 1000th viewer.
Wow.
I don't know how I figure out who that is or who you are, but whoever you are, thank you. You're the 1000th viewer.
Well, we will get them a free sticker and koozie.
Yes.
Whenever the koozies get here.
Yes. Yes. I'm excited about this upcoming season. It should hopefully be a blast. And hopefully we continue our winning ways on Rocky Top.
Absolutely.
And I got to get my voice ready, Harbin. The Hornets kick off in less than 2 weeks at home.
Who's the opener?
Home opener is Sevier County Smoky Bears.
Okay.
I don't know if they play a game before that or not. I need to look that up. I know it's not at home. I know the first home game is August 18th.
Gotcha.
At historic Eblin Field against the Smoky Bears. Hornets are young this year, rebuilding mode, so we got a lot of work to do, but it happens. You got to rebuild every now and then. So anyways, appreciate everybody listening. Big Montana and Day Vol hopefully will be joining us next week to make their season debut. We'll catch up with them, see what they've been doing this summer, what they've been up to. I'm sure Day's been at Disney, and Big Montana has been selling food and hanging. I know he's been at the beach. I know he was hanging out at the beach a couple weeks ago. So we'll catch up with those guys. And remember, you can hopefully get us anywhere you get your podcasts. Apple, Google, Listen Notes, wherever you get us. Spotify, you can get us there. So we'll keep you guys updated on social media about getting the episode posted. And hopefully it'll be out here early in the week. But Harbin, good to see you again.
Good to see you as well, sir.
We'll do it again next week.
All right. Tony Schiavone, we are out of time.
We are out of time. We've got to go. We'll see you next week on Nitro. Oh, by the way, before we go, SummerSlam, great show last night.
It was solid. I actually rewatched it last night when I got home.
Bianca won the title and then immediately lost it.
Got cashed in on.
Dang. It happens. But anyways.
It is what it is.
Appreciate everybody listening. We'll see you guys next week. This has been the Section YY8 podcast.